Welcome to another 5-minute video from thislife.com. This video we're going to spend 5 minutes Korg Multi on the layer rotate, which I think is a pretty unique feature apart from the Korg Mono poly, which inspired the multi-poly. And I'll show you how you can use it to create some rich and interesting sounds and some different sounds using those layer rotates. And you heard at the beginning then was the patch that I created, layer rotate. So what I'm going to do is start from scratch on this so that I can give you the sort of full explanation of it. So I'll start with an Init Performance and I'll show you what this is. So layer rotate, the idea behind layer rotate is multi-poly has got 4 identical layers. So you can have a string, a brass, a bass and a drum sound, or vocal and some, synth lead and so on. You can layer those up, so you can have them split or you can have them combined. What layer rotate does is switch through them with different options. The feature originally comes from the monopoly, the Korg Mono, which was a monophonic synth that had a polyphonic mode where it had 4 oscillators, which you could play polyphonic mode all at the same time. But one of the options was a rotate, where so each oscillator would play one after the other to give you some really interesting sounds, and that's what we can use on here. In fact, there is another way of doing that just with a single layer, because we've got 4 oscillators in a single layer anyway, but that's for another video. So what we've got here is a brass sound, or the initialized brass sound. So what I'm going to do is load it in another sound, and we'll use a user sound, and let's have this MS2000 Ice Field sound. So let's switch that on. And then on another layer, I'm going to use some synth strings, and we'll use those from my CS80 collection. And then final layer, I want some sort of vocal type sounds. So a final layer, I'm going to include some like a pad sound. So here there you can see one layer is that one layer, one layer, and one layer is. So just for that layer, I'll go back to layer. That's it, just add a bit of envelope, and let's just put the others have got some effects on, so I'll put a bit of effects on as well. Okay, so here's the layer rotate. So if I turn that on, it is currently set in forward direction, number of layers, and let's have it set as 1. It only does the first layer. You can see the little glowing light there. So let's switch all the layers on now. If I turn that, leave that off for now, turn all layers on. You can hear all those layers at the same time. Let's turn on layer rotate now. So you can hear each note, the layers trigger separately. So you end up with a nice effect, especially if you've got long release times on them. So rather than just getting all 4 layers at the same time, you're getting the differences, and you can have some extreme differences like I've got here. Or if you go for subtle variations, maybe get 2 strings that are slightly the same, but then the ear can just hear the differences. I'll show you that in a sec. That creates some nice movement. And the lights show you as the layers go on. Perhaps good if you get a sequence. And in fact, if you put the arpeggiator on, I turn the arpeggiator on. You can see it playing the arpeggiator. The arpeggiator playing the layers. So it's quite an interesting effect. I'm running out of time a bit, so just to show you a little bit more on it, you've got options to go forward and backwards. So I think Back and forth always sounds quite good. Like that. Especially if you put the arpeggiator back on. Or you can have it random. So the string ones you don't hear so much on here because of the slow end, but if I just bring them back in. You can hear that a bit well. So another thing you can do is the reset source. So I'm going to say I'm going to reset this sequence. I use the performance control when it goes above, say, 50. So once it goes above 50, it'll reset it. You hear it that? So it's a way of resetting that source. The other thing as well is your layers per note. So it's playing 2 layers per note or 3 layers per note. Another option is layer per note as well. Let's set that to 2. You have it in 3. So that's layer rotate. Now I did say I'd do a little string example, so I'll pause the video and come back when I've got when I've got the example of a string, of a more subtle one to show you. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just took one of my pad sounds in the pad, put them on 4 layers. I've changed the cutoff on them, and on one of the layers I changed the filter to a mimo filter, and one of the layers I added a bit of resonance. So when you put them together, just hear that the subtle changes. If I do a single note, you can. So that's one of the ways you can do it. There's loads of different things you can do with it. Combine it with the arpeggiator, combine it with all the performance controls, and you've got a really rich way of creating sound. So that was a 5-minute video, more or less 10 minutes, looking at layer rotate on the Korg Multi. If you've got any ideas for these 5-minute videos, please let me know, or any ideas that you'd like, areas of the synth you'd like me to investigate further, let me know. I'll see you on the next video.